This tiny 1 cent coin could be hiding in your change jar right now, and it might be worth over $2,000. We're talking about a Lincoln penny so ordinary, it's easy to miss, until you realize collectors are fighting for it at auctions. Think you don't have treasure? Think again. Top 1. In the heart of American numismatic history, there exists a humble yet iconic coin that has stood the test of time, one that countless people have passed from hand to hand without ever pausing to notice its legacy. It's a penny, a 1 cent piece minted in the year 1975, bearing the quietly powerful image of Abraham Lincoln and a small yet significant mint mark, hinting at the origin of its creation. But what if I told you that hidden among the millions, a few of these copper treasures have become the subject of fierce bidding wars, collector obsessions, and soaring auction prices? What makes a simple Lincoln penny from 1975, which was once worth just a single cent, suddenly rise in value and prestige? To understand that, we must journey back to the mid-1970s, a period when America stood at a crossroads of history and transformation. The Vietnam War had just ended, Watergate was still fresh in the minds of citizens, and the U.S. Mint continued its routine yet vital task of producing coins for the nation. At the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck, each featuring the steadfast gaze of the 16th president, designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials can still be seen if you look closely at the base of Lincoln's bust. The 1975 Lincoln penny with mint marks, particularly the D from Denver and the S from San Francisco, were part of a year that saw massive production, with billions of these coins entering circulation. Yet, not all pennies were created equal. While most of them look alike to the untrained eye, collectors and experts know that tiny variations, mint errors, and exceptional condition can make a world of difference. Some were struck slightly off-center. Others were double-die obverse. And in the rarest of cases, a few left the mint in an uncirculated state, locked away for decades by forward-thinking collectors. Among the most prized are those struck with near-flawless precision, retaining their original coppery luster. In auctions, a 1975 D. Lincoln penny in pristine red mint state condition, graded MS 67 plus RD by PCGS, has stunned the numismatic community, fetching over $2,000 in competitive bidding. Yes, a coin that cost 1 cent to make and once bought a piece of gum has sold for thousands of dollars simply because of its immaculate preservation and scarcity in that grade. Even the 1975 S-proof pennies, struck with extra care and shine, have captured attention when housed in original mint sets or discovered in near-perfect condition. Collectors from across the globe keep their eyes on major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, and Great Collections, where these tiny copper discs sometimes become the stars of the show. It was at a Heritage Auction event in Florida where one of the highest-graded 1975 Lincoln pennies with the Denver Mint mark crossed the block, the final gavel ringing in a price that left even seasoned dealers whispering in awe. But what truly drives the value of this penny isn't just its date or mint mark. It's the condition, the grade, the story it carries. A coin with sharp detail, vibrant color, and minimal contact marks can rise dramatically in value. The passion of collectors fuels the demand, especially when registry sets compete for top-ranked positions. They seek not just any 1975 penny, but the best, the ones that stand out in a sea of billions. Then there are the error coins, fascinating mistakes from the minting process that turn ordinary coins into valuable oddities. A 1975 Lincoln penny with an off-center strike, die cracks, or a clipped planchet can command hundreds or even thousands, depending on the uniqueness and condition. These quirks make each coin a miniature mystery, drawing in not just numismatists but historians, investors, and even curious newcomers. Over the next chapters, we'll explore the intricate process behind how these coins were minted, the role of the San Francisco Mint in creating proof specimens, the rise of copper as a precious commodity, and how inflation, metal composition changes, and collector culture have shaped the penny's legacy. We'll also follow the stories of individuals, ordinary people, who stumbled upon these valuable coins in jars, drawers, or pocket change, unaware they held something extraordinary. Some turned a lucky find into a fortune. Others became lifelong collectors. This isn't just about a coin. It's about heritage. It's about the unexpected value of things we overlook. It's about the 1975 Lincoln penny with a mint mark, an unassuming relic that continues to spark excitement, curiosity, and, in some cases, jaw-dropping auction results. Top 2. It was the year 1976, a time when the United States stood on the threshold of celebration. The bicentennial buzzed across the nation, marking 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Streets were decked in red, white, and blue, parades filled the towns, and every American was swept up in the wave of patriotic pride. Amid all this fanfare, coins and currency became more than just a means of transaction. They became symbols of heritage, history, and national pride. But one coin in particular, a humble copper penny without a mint mark, quietly made its way into pockets, purses, and piggy banks. To the average eye, the 1976 Lincoln penny looked like any other, small, brown, easily overlooked. But behind this unassuming appearance was a story that spanned decades, and eventually, astounding value in the world of collectors. To truly understand the 1976 Lincoln penny, we need to travel back in time. Not just to 1976, but to 1909, when the very first Lincoln cent was introduced. It was a revolutionary design at the time, replacing the Indian head cent and becoming the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. That person was, of course, Abraham Lincoln, the revered 16th President of the United States, known for his leadership during the Civil War and the abolition of slavery. The choice of Lincoln for the cent was more than symbolic. It was a tribute to unity and liberty, ideals the country was proud to celebrate during its bicentennial in 1976. By the mid-1970s, the Lincoln penny had seen several changes. Though its design remained largely consistent, Lincoln's profile facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" arching above his head, "Liberty" to his left, and the year of mintage just below, it had undergone some subtle refinements over the decades. But one constant remained. It was always a coin of the people. Billions were minted each year, and most passed through hands without a second glance. Yet, some of those coins were destined to be different. Some would find their way into collector books, coin rolls, and numismatic showcases. And one coin, the 1976 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, would later rise to auction fame, commanding a value that defied its humble denomination. Minted in Philadelphia, the 1976 penny with no mint mark was one of the most common coins produced that year. Over 4.6 billion were struck, each made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would later change in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper. On the reverse, the familiar Lincoln Memorial stood tall, flanked by the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, with 1 cent boldly at the bottom. Yet despite its mass production, not all 1976 pennies were created equal. Some were struck with extraordinary precision. Others bore subtle errors, die cracks, double strikes, off-center impressions. And some were preserved, whether by accident or design, in pristine condition. It was these few, these extraordinary survivors, that would go on to dazzle at auction houses across the country. Imagine standing inside a crowded auction hall, the air thick with anticipation, the quiet crackle of bidding paddles ready to rise. A coin expert steps forward, presenting a gleaming 1976 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, yet shining with an almost unearthly luster. Graded MS-67 red by PCGS. Its surface is untouched by time. Its fields mirror-like. Its devices razor-sharp. The auctioneer begins the bidding at $100, but it doesn't stay there long. Hands rise, numbers escalate. 200, 300, 500. The room pulses with excitement. When the gavel finally falls, the winning bid is $2,500, and it's met with a round of applause. The sale takes place at Heritage Auctions, a renowned house for rare numismatic treasures, and the coin becomes one of the highest graded and highest priced 1976 Lincoln cents ever sold. But why would a penny, a coin worth just 1 cent, reach such lofty heights? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and demand. While billions were minted, only a handful were preserved in perfect condition. Time, circulation, and oxidation wore most down. Finding one in near-perfect mint state is like finding a needle in a haystack, and collectors know this. They pay for the quality, they pay for the story, and they pay for the chance to own a piece of American legacy. The 1976 penny also holds special significance because of its place in the bicentennial era. Though the cent wasn't redesigned like the quarter, half dollar, or dollar, which all received special bicentennial motifs, it was still a coin from a momentous year. Some collectors aim to build full 1976 sets, and a high-grade Lincoln penny without a mint mark is essential to completing that collection. Furthermore, error coins from this year, like double die obverse, clipped planchets, or struck through errors, are especially prized. One such example, a 1976 no-mint mark penny with a dramatic off-center strike, sold for over $750 in a 2021 eBay auction. As time goes on, the number of high-grade 1976 pennies continues to shrink. Copper oxidizes. Coins get lost, damaged, or mishandled. This increasing scarcity drives up prices and makes each discovery more thrilling. It's not just about the metal. It's about the moment it represents. The bicentennial spirit, the legacy of Lincoln, the quiet journey of a coin from a press in Philadelphia to a velvet-lined display case. In the years to come, the 1976 Lincoln penny without a mint mark will only grow in mystique. Collectors will continue their search. Auctions will raise their paddles. And maybe, just maybe, someone will find one hidden in a forgotten coin jar, waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. Not just a penny, but a relic of pride, history, and unexpected fortune. Top 3. In the heartbeat of America's bustling bicentennial aftermath, a single penny rolled off the press, small, copper, and nearly unnoticed. Yet, what seemed to be just another Lincoln cent bore with it a legacy more profound than many could imagine. This was 1977. The world was changing, and in the quiet hum of the U.S. Mint, so was history struck into metal, sealed in time. This is the story of the 1977 Lincoln penny with a mint mark, a story that transcends copper and coinage and ventures into a world where ordinary cents become extraordinary treasures. To understand the magic of this humble coin, we need to travel back, far beyond 1977 to 1909, when President Abraham Lincoln became the first historical figure to appear on a regular issue U.S. coin. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln penny debuted in honor of his 100th birthday. A century later, that legacy still shines. And in 1977, it gleamed just a little brighter. The coinage world of the 1970s was alive with transitions. Nickel prices were volatile, inflation gripped the nation, and the average American found themselves counting their change more carefully than ever before. The Lincoln penny, always reliable, was still being minted in large quantities. Yet, the mint marks, those tiny letters under the date, began to stir collector curiosity. D for Denver, S for San Francisco, each mark whispering a different tale. The Denver Mint, known for its large-scale production, churned out over 4.2 billion Lincoln cents in 1977. The San Francisco Mint, by this time used primarily for proof coins, produced its own share shiny specimens meant not for pockets, but for prized albums. These mint marks, subtle yet significant, have become essential clues for collectors who know that rarity is not always measured by how few are made, but by how few survived unblemished. Let us pause to look at the design. On the obverse, Lincoln sits in noble profile, his gaze ever steady. The word liberty stands boldly to his left, while to the right, the year 1977, and just beneath it, a modest D or S. Above it all, the national motto, "In God We Trust." It's a layout familiar to billions, yet in that familiarity lies a deep and resonant symbolism. Flip the coin, and the Lincoln Memorial greets you, stretching across the reverse in dignified lines. It replaced the wheat ears in 1959, and since then, it has held its place, a monument to the man and the ideals he fought for. Beneath it, 1 cent. Above, United States of America. And just between, a phrase that unites all who carry this currency, e pluribus unum. Yet not all 1977 Lincoln cents are created equal. Among the billions, there are those few that capture a moment, a strike a hair too soft, a die misaligned, a planchet imperfect. It is these errors, anomalies, and flukes that fuel the dreams of collectors. A double die, a clipped planchet, or a rare strike-through can send a simple penny soaring to sky-high auction prices. Take, for example, the 1977 D. Lincoln cent graded MS67 Plus read by PCGS, a gleaming, flawless example of mint craftsmanship. In a 2021 auction hosted by Heritage Auctions, this coin fetched an astonishing $7,050. A single penny, 1 cent, valued at more than most cars on the road today. Not because of gold or silver content, not because it's old, but because of condition, rarity and grade, and an insatiable collector demand. There was another, a proof 1977 S. Lincoln penny, pristine in its mirror-like finish, sold in a private auction for nearly $1,300. Why? Because in the world of coins, perfection is priceless. The grading scale, ranging from poor to perfect, PR 70 for proofs, MS 70 for business strikes, dictates value with ruthless precision. A small scratch can have the price. A pristine surface can double it. But there's more to the story than just prices. These coins, minted in a time of political upheaval, economic change, and cultural shifts, represent something bigger. They are snapshots of 1977, a year that saw the launch of the Apple II computer, the rise of punk rock, and the presidency of Jimmy Carter. In pockets and purses across America, the 1977 penny witnessed history firsthand. And while many were lost to time spent, melted, forgotten, some survived. Tucked in drawers, saved by collectors, or hidden in penny jars, these survivors now stand as testament to patience, passion, and possibility. So what makes a 1977 Lincoln penny with a mint mark truly valuable? It's the combination of rarity, condition, demand, and a touch of luck. Whether it's a stunning red gem from Denver or a sharp proof from San Francisco, these coins remind us that even the smallest pieces of metal can carry immense stories and surprising worth. The journey of this coin, from mint floor to collector's vault, is just beginning. And for those who hold one, who examine the mint mark beneath the date and wonder where it has been, know this: it may be worth far more than 1 cent. Top 4. In the dim glow of America's changing economic landscape in the late 1970s, a small, copper-colored coin quietly rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, it was just another ordinary penny, tiny, familiar, almost invisible in its simplicity. But this was no ordinary coin to the careful eye of a numismatist or a collector with a deep passion for history. This was the 1979 Lincoln penny, without a mint mark. And behind this little piece of metal lay a story woven through decades of American heritage, policy shifts, minting practices, and the unmistakable figure of Abraham Lincoln himself. The journey of the Lincoln cent began long before 1979. It started in 1909, the year that marked the centennial of Lincoln's birth. President Theodore Roosevelt had a vision to breathe life into American coinage. And it was Victor David Brenner who gave Lincoln his everlasting place on the 1-cent coin. No other U.S. president had been featured on circulating coinage until that point, but Lincoln, the great emancipator, became the first, setting a precedent that would shape U.S. currency forever. Fast forward 7 decades later, and the penny still bore Lincoln's likeness, a testament to his enduring legacy. But in 1979, a quiet yet interesting moment occurred in the world of coinage. While coins struck in San Francisco and Denver bore their respective S and D mint marks, pennies minted in Philadelphia, as was tradition, bore no mint mark at all. To the casual spender, this detail meant nothing. But to collectors, it was a detail that held the power to distinguish rarity, trace origin, and sometimes unlock unexpected value. At a time when inflation loomed over the American economy, when gasoline prices spiked and world markets trembled from energy crises, the humble penny was still being minted in large quantities, over 6 billion that year alone. But the Philadelphia version, lacking a mint mark, stood in its own peculiar category. Though not rare by mintage numbers alone, some specimens were struck with remarkable sharpness on high-quality planchets, or carried unusual characteristics that would later raise eyebrows at auctions around the country. One of the most striking features of the 1979 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is its simplicity. The obverse still displayed Victor D. Brenner's now iconic portrait of Lincoln, facing right, with "In God We Trust" etched proudly above his head. To the left, the word "Liberty" was placed humbly, and to the right, the year 1979 gleamed beneath the coppery sheen. The reverse remained a tribute to the Lincoln Memorial, a design adopted in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. The design showcased the famous memorial in detailed lines, framed by the words "United States of America" at the top, "E Pluribus Unum" above the structure, and 1 cent at the bottom. Though familiar, the elegance of the layout never lost its charm. Yet what really gave this penny its fire in the hearts of collectors wasn't just its design or its historical lineage. It was the thrill of condition, scarcity of exceptional strikes, and the wild surprises found in the world of coin auctions. A coin that cost 1 cent in 1979 could now, in pristine condition, fetch much more, particularly those graded at MS 67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Take, for instance, the case of a blazing red specimen of the 1979 Lincoln penny without a mint mark that appeared at auction at Heritage Auctions. Graded MS 67 plus red, this coin drew attention not because of a mint error or a low mintage, but because of its astonishing condition, virtually flawless under magnification, struck with crisp detail and luster that seemed to glow. It sold for a remarkable $3,910, an extraordinary return for a coin most would overlook in spare change. Such auctions ignite the imaginations of collectors and investors alike. They remind us that treasure doesn't always come in gold bars or ancient relics. Sometimes, it's in the copper tone of a 1979 cent, preserved by chance or purpose, held for decades in quiet drawers or tucked in forgotten jars. Behind each of these coins lies a story of mint workers who meticulously adjusted dies, of hobbyists who searched through rolls with patience and a dream, of a nation that continued to press on through recession and hope alike. The 1979 penny, especially those without the mint mark, is a quiet monument to those stories. And perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so alluring. Not just the metal, the mintage, or even the monetary value, but the way each coin becomes a capsule of time. The 1979 Lincoln penny, modest though it may be, holds echoes of history in its small round frame. Top 5. In the quiet hum of daily transactions, with coins changing hands faster than thoughts, it's easy to overlook the humble Lincoln penny. But for those with a discerning eye, those who peer beyond the copper sheen and see the history etched into every line of Lincoln's face. The 1980 Lincoln penny becomes more than just change, it becomes a portal, a relic, a treasure hidden in plain sight. Today, we peel back the layers of this modest cent, specifically the 1980 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, and reveal its journey, significance, rarity, and the astronomical value it has fetched in auctions. Buckle in, because this isn't just a coin, this is a story of time, design, and unexpected fortune. It all began in the twilight of the 1970s. America was closing a tumultuous decade marked by war, protest, political scandal, and economic instability. The penny, a tiny witness to all that chaos, stood as a piece of continuity. Since 1909, Abraham Lincoln's profile had graced the obverse of this coin, a bold choice at the time, as it marked the first instance of a U.S. president appearing on circulating coinage. The 1980 Lincoln penny is no exception, but it carries the weight of that tradition into a new era, an era of evolving minting practices, rising metal costs, and numismatic surprises. The coin in question, bearing no mint mark, was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Until 1980, Philadelphia had traditionally not used mint marks on its coins. But starting in 1980, the P mint mark began appearing on coins like the nickel, making the 1980 Lincoln cent one of the last coins of its kind with no mint mark from Philadelphia. This tiny omission, almost invisible to the average observer, became a detail that made collectors lean in just a little closer. Struck primarily in copper-plated zinc beginning in 1982, the 1980 penny still enjoyed its full copper composition, 95% copper, 5% zinc. That composition alone gives the coin a rich, heavier feel. But more than its metal, what makes this coin so intriguing is what lies beneath the surface. Most 1980 pennies are worth face value until they're not. There are errors, rare die varieties, and pristine condition examples that have turned this everyday cent into a collector's fantasy. Collectors talk often of the red pennies, those that have retained their bright, original luster straight from the mint. A 1980 Lincoln penny graded MS67RD by PCGS, a perfect, gleaming, untouched coin, has sold for hundreds of dollars, sometimes over $1,000. It seems unbelievable, right? That a 1-cent coin, mass-produced in the millions, could command such value. But this is the paradox of numismatics. Abundance does not always equal worthlessness. Condition, scarcity in top grades, and the sheer luck of error can propel a humble coin into the spotlight. Take, for example, the auction at Heritage Auctions in Dallas, Texas. A collector's dream came true when a 1980 Lincoln penny, flawlessly preserved and burning with original red luster, sold for a staggering $1,998.75. Yes, nearly $2,000 for a penny. And that's not the only one. Other specimens, with minor double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual planchet errors, have crossed the auction block and stunned audiences. One such error coin, struck off-center by nearly 15%, was auctioned at Stack's Bowers for $684. And then there are the double dies, rare, elusive, and often only detected with a jeweler's loupe. These varieties are the holy grails of Lincoln cent collectors. But what gives the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny its magnetic appeal isn't just the price tag. It's the thrill of the hunt. Imagine this. You're sifting through an old jar of coins, one that's sat in your grandmother's kitchen for decades. There, nestled between some modern zinc cents and a couple of wee-backs, lies a shiny 1980 penny. No mint mark. You look closer. Could it be? That's the moment collectors live for. That spark, that question, that pulse of adrenaline as possibility takes root. Lincoln himself would likely be bemused by it all. A man of humble beginnings and modest lifestyle, he might not see the appeal in spending thousands of dollars on a coin bearing his likeness. But that's the magic of the numismatic world. It turns history into treasure, memory into material, and copper into gold. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 7.4 billion of these coins in 1980. And yet, in pristine condition, they become rare jewels. That's the irony. It's not about how many exist, It's about how many survived untouched, unscathed, and uncirculated. Each one a miniature time capsule of 1980 America, unmarked by the decades that followed. This penny lived through Reagan's election, the birth of CNN, the eruption of Mount St. Helens, and the dawn of MTV. It survived pockets, cash registers, coin rolls, and time itself. And those that survived in MS-67 and above? Those coins are like ghosts of the past, perfect in their preservation, defiant in their durability. There's something undeniably greedy and delicious about the idea of owning such a coin. A whisper of copper with the weight of $1,000. A collector's high that doesn't fade. And while many dream of gold and silver, those truly in the know understand the power of the penny, especially one with a story.